No matter how big the home is, no matter how beautiful the living room is, everyone always ends up crowding or being in the kitchen. Every party, every morning, every late night conversation over a glass of wine. We might spend fortunes on rooms we think our guests should be in, and when everyone crowds in the kitchen anyways. Here's a real reason for that. And once we understand it, we can design a kitchen that doesn't just look beautiful, but it pulls the people we love towards it, and it takes care of them while they're there. If we haven't met, I am Ariana Adireh Anderson. I design homes and my team builds them. And after all these years, the kitchen is still my favorite room to design because it's one of those spaces that does the most for the people who live there. It's where the day starts and it's where it ends. It's where the real conversations happen. So the best kitchen I know were really never about having the most glamorous finishes. They're about how the space makes people feel and how easy it is to be in that space. So today, let's talk about how we get there together. Let's start with the idea that everything else rests on. A kitchen has to be designed around how we actually use it, not just how it looks on a plan. For decades, kitchens were designed around something called the working triangle, the path between the sink, the stove, and the refrigerator. And it's a fine starting point, but most of us don't cook alone in a closed-off room anymore. We cook together. Someone's making dinner while someone else is unpacking groceries. A kid is doing homework at the island. So the way I design now is around zones. A place to store, a place to prep, a place to cook, a place to clean up, and a place to gather. When each of these have its own home and enough room to breathe, the whole kitchen just flows. Nobody is reaching over anybody. Nobody is fighting for a corner or a space. And that ease, that sense of a room that just works, is one of the quietest luxuries there is. You feel it every single day. A big part of that ease comes down to giving yourself real prep space, which is the thing that people underestimate the most. The counter right beside the sink, the stove is where almost all of the active work happens in the kitchen. Now, kitchen planners have measured this for years, and they recommend a generous landing area besides each of these. Something like 18 to 24 inches of clear countertop next to the sink, and at least a foot, maybe even more, by a cooktop. Now, this sounds technical, but here's where it really means. It means that room to actually be able to roll out dough, to lay a big cutting board down, or even to set a hot pan without scrambling. When we give ourselves that space, the cooking stops feeling like a fight and starts feeling like, well, something we actually want to do. And a kitchen we enjoy being is the kitchen that brings us together. And when there's room to prep properly, something else starts to happen. And I love that. More than one person can cook at once. So much of the joy of kitchen is doing it together. One person at a stove, another might be chopping alongside, a glass of wine, music in the background. A kitchen built for a single cook squeezed into a corner never allows for that. So I plan for two prep areas. Then the space allows for a wide walkway, maybe around 42 inches for one cook and closer to 48 inches for two people to pass. Then a kitchen makes room for people to cook side by side. Cooking turns from this chore into spending time together. And that's the whole idea, which brings me to a true heart of the room, the island. Here's a reason everyone gravitates towards it, and it's not an accident. And island gives people a way to be together in a kitchen without being in a cook's way. Designers talk about comfortable social distance, and the island creates exactly that. You can lean on one side and talk to the person that's cooking on the other, close enough to have connection and far enough to stay out of their work zone. So when I design an island, I design it for connections. I leave enough room to move all the way around it, ideally about 42 inches to 48 inches of clearance. So it never feels like a squeeze. If there's seating, I give seat real room. I like to plan for 24 inches and enough of an overhang space, about 15 inches, then you can tuck your knees underneath comfortably and stay there for a while. That's the whole point. The island is where your family lands. It's worth designing so they would want to stay. And near the island, if there's room, I love to give people soft space to land. Maybe a banquet, a window seat, a comfortable nook with cushions, and a nice table. Gathering isn't only standing at the counter. Sometimes it might be curling up with a book while someone is cooking and staying there for a while, even after the plates are cleared. A kitchen that invites you to stay, not just pass through, is a true center of the home. Now, here's something I do in every kitchen I design, and it changes how the whole room feels. I keep one stretch of countertop completely clear, always. A world where every surface wants to be filled up with appliances and mail and coffee makers and everything else. One open, beautiful run of stone is a gift. And it isn't just about how it looks. Here's the real research and where it shows up. That visual clutters keeps pulling your attention, even we aren't really paying attention to it. So the cluttered kitchen quietly keeps us on edge. Now, a clear counter does the opposite. It gives our eyes a place to rest. It gives us room to actually work, and it makes the whole room feel calm and conservative. So we designed in storage to make that possible. Appliance garage, deep drawers, a place for everything. A calm kitchen makes a calm mind, and it happens to also look expensive. Here's one more little zone I always try to build in, and my clients end up loving it more than most anything else in the kitchen. And that's a beverage station, a dedicated spot for coffee, a kettle, maybe some extra mugs, the whole morning ritual. So much of our day begins right there. And here's something genuinely lovely about that corner of the kitchen, devoted to that first quiet cup of coffee before the whole house wakes up. When the coffee lives in its own beautiful station instead of crowding on the main countertop, the morning feels calmer and more intentional. It turns an ordinary daily moment into a ritual. Honoring that small ritual is a big part of what makes a home feel good to live in. And let's design the cleanup so it practically disappears. Nothing pulls warmth out of the room faster than a sink piled high in the middle of everything. I place the dishwasher right beside the sink. So loading is one of the easiest. Turn instead of walking across the room. I also tug the trash and the recycling into a pullout, so the bins are never on display. And in a large kitchen, I love to add a secondary prep sink, so the cook can rinse and work while the main sink handles the mess. Then the cleanup is easy and out of sight. The kitchen stays calm, beautiful, even in the middle of a full dinner. That kind of ease that keeps the room feeling luxurious when life is actually happening. Let's talk about lighting. Nothing shapes how the kitchen feels more than a kitchen that actually needs two kinds. During the day and while we're cooking, we want good, bright, honest light so we can see what we're doing. That's task lighting. I always run into under the upper cabinets, washing right down into the center where we work, so nobody's chopping in the shadows. But in the evening, when the cooking is done and people are lingering, we want something softer. So I layer in warm lighting too. A pair of beautiful large pendants over an island on a dimmer, a warm glow that stays. The work is over and now we can just be together. When a kitchen can shift from bright, working to warm and gathering, it carries us through the entire day. That's a kitchen that's alive. The materials we choose do more than we think. We don't just look at kitchens, we touch it constantly. So I love to bring natural materials whenever I can. A slab of real stone with movement in it, warm wood in the island or in the open shelves. These aren't only beautiful, our bodies genuinely relax around natural materials and textures the same way we relax outdoors. Research on what is called biophilic design keeps finding that natural elements lower our stress, and natural materials have another gift. They age beautifully. Stone and wood and good metals only get better with time, where the cheap metals, well, they just wear out. So when we choose them, we're choosing a kitchen that will still feel wonderful in 10 years, maybe even 20. That's what luxury really is. Not necessarily the most glamorous thing, the things you will still love long after the trend has passed. While we're on nature, that's actually invited in. A kitchen is one of the best places in a home for that. A window over a sink looks into something green. You maybe herbs on a sill that we can actually use when we cook. A bowl of fruit, a plant in a corner. A view you will get to enjoy while you're rinsing the vegetables. These little connections to the natural world do something real for us. They lower our stress. They lift our mood and they make the most used room in the house feel alive instead of sterile. It costs almost nothing, and it changes the entire feel of the space. Something we almost never talk about is about feeling every day, is how a kitchen engages all of our senses. We design kitchens for our eyes, but we live with them with our whole body. Think about the soft and solid sound as we make drawers close themselves instead of slamming, a quiet of good appliance instead of loud rattling fans, the warmth of underfoot of heated floors on a cold morning, the smell of something cooking, which is one of the most comfortable things there is. When we pay attention to how a kitchen sounds and feels and smells, not just how it looks, we get a room that welcomes us on every level. Full sensory comfort is different between what a kitchen, when it's photographed or rendered, and the ones that you never want to leave. And here's maybe the most important idea of all, the one that ties the whole room to the people that are in it. Design the kitchen to be open for connection. Studies have found that open kitchens open the flow into the living room and into the dining space, increase how much of the family interacts by a remarkable amount compared to a closed-off kitchen. When the person cooking can see and talk to the people they love, the kitchen stops feeling or being a place that you disappear into to make the dinner. It becomes a center of a home. So I think carefully about sightlines. Where does the cook stand and what do they see? Can they be part of the conversation, part of the room while they work? Then we get it right. The kitchen does the most important things that any room can do. It brings people together. One last thing that ties all of it together, and it's more felt than seen. A kitchen should feel connected to the rest of the home, not like a separation, busier world bolt into it. So I carry the warmth of the same palette, the same sense of calm from the living space into the kitchen. When the kitchen flows visually with everything else around it, the whole house feels centered, considered, and your eye never struggle or feel that disposition of the transitions. That's the feeling of one calm, cohesive home, is one of the most luxurious things there is. So let's put it all together. When we design a kitchen around how we really live, with room to move and prep, island built for togetherness, a clear and calm countertop, lights that carry us from morning to night naturally, that relaxes us, and things that age beautifully. A little bit of nature cares for all of our senses, and openness that draws people in. We end up with something wonderful. A kitchen that's beautiful, yes, but also the one that's easy and calm and good for us and full of people we love. And the beautiful part is that so much of this isn't about spending more. It's about designing intentionally around the life you actually want to live in. Because in the end, nobody remembers the exact stone we chose or the brand of faucets. What they remember is life that happened in that room. A family dinner, kids at the island doing homework, friends who don't leave the kitchen at the party. A great kitchen was never really about the kitchen. It's about what happens inside of it. So here's what I love. Look at your kitchen this week and ask one simple question. Does this room makes it easy for people I love to gather in? Then tell me in the comments the one thing that you change to make it more so. So let's do this together. And I read your comments. Now, next time, let's move into a room where our workday happens and where the right design can genuinely change how we think and feel. Home office. And how to make it a space that gives us energy and focus instead of draining them. I can't wait to share it with you. And I'll see you in the next one.